let's begin. The Tradictive Options Planner, top. Let's begin with the presentation. A quick highlight of the disclaimer on the upper left side of my screen. Please read it carefully. This is, as always, important information. As we all know, trading carries financial risk, so we need to be aware of that. I believe probably all of you are aware, but please read the disclaimer completely. Do not skip it. It is important information. With that said, my name is Jose Blasco. You can see my email address right here. Make a note if you wish, or you also received multiple emails to attend this webinar. You can always respond to that email and you get in touch with me. But basically, you may have questions after this presentation. You may want to get a copy of the slides, for example. In general, anything you need, guys, email me directly. Don't be shy. Don't be a stranger. Let's be connected, and that way we can help you better. How are you, Ahmed, Mark, Rifki, Boyan? Very nice to see you all. And I'm sure maybe I missed a few names. Leon, I missed you. So many names on the chat box that I kind of missed you. Thank you so much, guys. So let's begin. Okay, so what's the plan for today? So first, I'll go over speed of the light introduction, because really the subject is top, right? So we'll focus on top. First, we'll talk about what is it. And from there, we'll talk about why is it that we are so excited, okay? How it can help you. We'll go over examples and things like that. From then, we'll talk about how to subscribe to it if you guys feel like utilizing such tool. And we'll get deeper into how to use it with a little bit of practice time. This will also depend on the amount of questions I receive from you, but for sure, indeed, more than happy to spend time. My intention, to be honest, would be to spend the least amount of time on the slides and the greatest amount of time with the charts and the platform and the options tools. That's my goal, okay? I have a bonus for you guys. We'll talk about this towards the end of the presentation, but again, I'm very appreciative that you guys are spending this time with me. As I said at the beginning, again, this is a very special moment for us, and we wanted to have a little something for you if you wish. And to be honest, it's not so little, but again, I'll talk more about that at the end if that's okay. And finally, at the end, as I said, we'll go over questions and answers, even though I'm sure I'll pick up some questions on the fly, and I'll be able to take care of it, as the presentation goes as well in most cases. So again, feel free to interact with me. Very good. So my name is Jose Blasco. Again, I'll keep it very short. Some of you know me. I would say most of you know me. But in any case, I am a multi-asset trader. This is what's important to know, I would say. Why? Because everything in trading, everything in life got pros and cons. Every asset has advantages and disadvantages. And therefore, while everything got advantages and disadvantages, and this also applies to options trading, the fact is that options give you options because there are so many combinations of contracts, combinations of strategies that you could put in place, where next thing you know, you can really deal with a lot of those disadvantages and now convert it into a beneficial situation. So options is my favorite asset, even though I am exposed to all assets that are properly regulated for traders. And indeed, that's one of my huge passions in life, and I do that since 2008. Okay. Technology is my other side, if you wish, and we've developed plenty of technology, including Top, which is again a very excited moment for me to share with you. Our main website, you probably all know, or most of you know, is tradewithufos.com. Feel free to take a look at the website because there are more resources. There are more products apart from Top, which I will be discussing today. So if you want to consult the website, feel free to do it. And if you have questions, you can connect with us as well. Okay, so let's begin. So what is Top? First important question for me to answer. And this is kind of like, if someone was to ask me, define Top in one sentence, I would say something like this. I would say Top is a professional grade platform. So it's a platform that could certainly be utilized by individual retail traders, but it's designed with a professional mindset for professional traders. So it's a platform which is an expert level type of platform, but at the same time, precisely because it's at expert level, there are some tools within the platform that are basically what I would call automation tools or semi-automation tools. And in this sense, it could be used very powerfully by new options traders that may still be in learning stages. And thanks to those wizards, next thing you know, in no time, you get options trades that are very powerful with limited understanding of options. So in other words, top serves, let's say, everyone, but if I was to think of both extremes, for the very advanced traders, you will have fun today in the presentation, you will see, because certain tools are very, very advanced and very powerful, but also for the ones of you who are newer in the options arena and you know options are powerful and you would like to incorporate options in your trading, but you didn't do it because you felt intimidated, because you don't know what you don't know, and you know you don't know it, things like that. So top can also alleviate very much the learning curve because of those tools I mentioned before. So again, it's a professional grade, expert level options platform with an extensive set of tools. Of course, options is probably the most complex asset to trade. So if top is just gonna make it so powerful and so simple, you could imagine that you could indeed trade futures and forex and crypto and stocks with top as well. But again, in this presentation, I will focus most of the time on options and stocks, because again, or options on stocks, I meant to say, because probably this is the asset that you guys are more interested in, and definitely it's the biggest strength when it comes to the platform. I guess the name says it all, right? The Tradictive Options Planner. Apart from that, of course, no need to say, we have the UFOs, the AutoClimate, all of those technologies which we had before top existed are indeed embedded and built in top. So why top tools are exciting? Okay, that's the first question I would like to answer, right? Okay, I'm going to separate, if you think about a trading platform and you think about a trading platform for options, some of the tools, I'm going to go very basic here for a moment, some of the tools have nothing to do with the charts. For example, an option chain. It's a tool that runs outside of a chart. But also, for you to trade options, you indeed also need to look at the chart so you understand what the underlying asset is doing, and based on the underlying asset, then you plan your options trades. So in other words, our platform top, okay, which by the way, let me have an initial flash of the platform. So this is top. We'll talk about this much more in depth, but our platform, of course, has charts. Our platform, of course, has options tools, which are not on the charts, but also there are many tools that are options tools, but they end up working in the chart, which is not a normal or a common thing. That is going to make your life very, very easy and make everything much more understandable and much less abstract. Because again, for an expert options trader, looking at an option chain, it's a normal thing. But for a new options trader, looking at an option chain, it's quite intimidating. So again, now we're going to be able to have the relevant information we need to plan an options trade on the chart, which is going to make it so visual and so easy. So here are the top reasons why top tools are exciting. So first, we have an easy to use strategy builder wizard. So let me have a quick demonstration of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight some of the key functionalities so you understand and what I mean when I say certain things during the presentation. And later I will go deeper into it. Okay, but first I want to show you some demonstration. Okay, so for example, let me grab a chart. So here's a chart. This is Disney. Okay, here again, we'll talk about this more later on, but you can see here there is a orange dot. Okay, that means that yesterday, this orange dot is lining up with the prior candle right there. So that was yesterday. This is a daily time frame of Disney. So yesterday, we got a confirm a potential Elliott wave turning point for a long-term trade. The platform automatically gave you that indication, and the platform is automatically telling you this is target 1, and this orange zone is target 2. So let's say you want to take a trade on Disney, shooting for target 2. Maybe you want to be more precise and you want to add what we call speed bumps. I'll talk more about that later as well, but it looks like that. Okay, so that would be your target. Okay, so 194.54, that would be your target. So let's say you are shooting for this target with Disney because you are an Elliott wave trader or whatever technique you use in trading. And this is your target, and you know options are powerful, but you don't know how to use them. So what can you do? So here's the answer. What you could do is you could get into the platform and open the strategy builder. And the moment you open the strategy builder, and I'm just gonna float it, okay? So that way I'm gonna position the strategy builder in the bottom part of my screen like this, and I'm going to go back to the chart, and I'm going to position the chart on the upper part of the screen like this. So I got Disney on the top and the strategy builder in the bottom. And the only thing I'm going to do here is I said, look, my target is 194.54, I believe I said. So I'm just going to come to the strategy builder and type 194.54, hit enter, and magic, 1, 2, 3. The trades are built. I sort them based on return on investment. And here we go. We got a ready-to-use bull call spread where if you reach the target, this trade will produce 178.2% rate of return. This would be a bull call spread made of buying the 185 call that expires in December and sell the 195 call that expires in December. It's been done for you automatically. And now you can just right-click and take the trade. Or right-click and go into deeper demonstration like projecting this particular trade with a projection tool, okay, and do a deeper analysis, as I will do, more in depth later on. But right now, just to do it quick, so you can see here on the top, you have the P&L of the trade. In the middle, you have the chart of Disney. In the bottom part, you have the implied volatility, which you could treat as one implied volatility, or you can treat it for each leg separately if you want. I will keep it simple in this case, and I will say, look, during the life of the trade all the way to expiration, which is December 17 in this particular case, let's say that implied volatility went down, and then it went up, and then it went up, and then implied volatility went down on those particular dates. And while the implied volatility was doing those particular things, the stock went higher, and then lower, and then lower, and then higher, and then the whatever, and then this. And then let's say on the expiration date, you are right here. So what would be your P&L? So you can see here that you made $300. Okay, and for the ones of you that are more advanced and you don't worry about your P&L, you're worrying about what's happening to my gamma. So you can simulate your gamma through time as the implied volatility is changing, the stock is moving, time is passing, and all of those different factors. But again, I'll come back to this because I kind of jumped straight into it by doing this little demo. I will do all of this demo much better later on without rushing into it. But again, first item I was discussing is that Top has an easy to use strategy builder. And you saw it at the speed of the light. I will take my time later on. But basically, no matter your trading style, you set a target, you type the target on the strategy builder, and it will produce a collection of different type of strategies. And then you can sort them based on different parameters. A classical way is return on investment. And that basically, will take care of, you picking the trade that is the most efficient with risk parameters that you could also adjust. You can also tell the platform, yeah, maximum $500 of risk, maximum, whatever. So this is item number one, which is quite exciting. Item number two is the fact that you could backtest options plays on the charts. Okay. So for example, I'm just going to go back to the chart. Okay. And let's say that you are earning play type of trader. You love to do earning plays. And in this case, you want to do it in a stock that is very relevant. I'm looking at Facebook, for example, and you want to backtest, okay, what happens, okay, and I'm adding here an earning options replay. So what happens, and it doesn't need to be an earnings replay. It could be any strategy really, but I'm just going to go for an earnings replay. So what happens if I want to do an earnings replay that I start 5 days before earnings, and I want to simulate that, for the last 1.5 years, which is 6 repetitions of earnings. And what if I did, every time you got earnings 5 days before, I initiate a short strangle. So what would happen if that was my trade? You click OK. And the moment you click OK, in the bottom part of the screen, as you can see, a new subgraph is loading. And now you can see how the simulations are taking place. And here we go. This is your simulated result if you did a short strangle, which later on you can right click and change the parameters. I will not do it now. I will do it later if that's okay. But you can go ahead and change those parameters on how wide you want the wings to be, all of those things, which expression date you want to use. You can customize everything. My point at this time is that instead of going the route of loading an option chain, okay, and nothing wrong with that, and going back to whatever date in the past where earnings were, reported. Okay, so I'm just making this up, May 12th, and then here, making a note of what is the strike price, for the calls and the puts, and logging all that information, typically in a spreadsheet, and then moving forward the dates, to see, what's happening now in, after earnings, right? And relogging the information again, and then comparing and, doing your calculations on a spreadsheet to see if the trade profits or not, which, as you could imagine, it's very tedious. So you can just do it straight on the charts, which takes no time, and on top of that is very visual. Item number 3 that I would like to discuss, and again, I will get deeper into all of this later on, okay? And this is being recorded indeed. And there they say, which operation system is it running on? It is running on Windows, okay? The platform runs on Windows operating system. So you also have risk graphs, which have a feature of comparison, and also a feature that we call the ideal strike, which is in the process of being patented. I'll talk more about the ideal strike feature later, if that's okay. But I do want to show you the compare function. So let me go back to top. So you can load a risk graph. Okay, or you know what? Instead of loading a risk graph from scratch and building it from scratch, you can also, which you could, of course, what about you take the prior trade that I was going to take with Disney earlier, right here, this bull call spread, and I graph it. So you can get your risk graph from there directly as well by right-clicking. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to maximize my risk graph. And of course, here you have all sorts of functions where you can change the strategy you are trading. You can adjust it with more legs, with adding stocks, combined with options. You can do anything you want, as many legs as you want, and then you can customize the parameters below, and then change dates or change implied volatilities and get to chart your results. But what you can also do is to turn on the compare mode, which is extremely useful because, for example, maybe you are wondering, so if instead of doing a bull call spread, I was to copy primary, I was to do a diagonal, for example. So you can get here into bullish trade diagonal, and now you pick bull call diagonal, and of course now I can edit the spread and change the expiration date, the strikes. I won't do it to save time, but you can do anything you want. So now the moment you click it, so now you have orange color for the second strategy you compare with the first strategy, and now as you move all those sliders in the bottom part, you get to understand the differences in performance and behavior of those two trades, which allows you to not only understand what you got on your hands when you trade options, but also pick the trades that are the most efficient or the less risk, and so on. Okay, so again, we'll talk more about this later on, but I wanted to mention this exciting feature. Filter out all possible spreads based on your preferred parameters is another function which to me is one of my favorites, to be honest, in the platform. Because what happens in options trading is that most of the platforms treat everything, all options data, based on pricing models, which could be more advanced or less advanced. Our pricing model is the most advanced there is, which is the binomial pricing model. But still, a pricing model is a pricing model where, what's programmed and what's running behind the scenes, it's a normal distribution when it comes to stats. So we assume that anything could happen anytime, and based on that, options prices populate, or theoretical options values populate, I should have said. Again, fair enough to have an assumptions where you don't know what's going to happen and anything could happen anytime. That's a simple way to say normal distribution. Again, way too simplistic. Okay, if I love math. Okay, so I'm just trying to simplify it for the one of you that don't love math. But yeah, probably you're smiling if you are a math expert. But yeah, probably you get my point. So anyway, so coming back to what I was saying, while options pricing models are very smart, you can certainly do call ratios as well, but absolutely no problem. So while options pricing models are indeed something very smart, the reality is that sometimes in options trading, beyond the pricing models, there are price anomalies. So for example, if I let me load Apple, for example. This is another tool called the Skew. And if I'm going to load multiple strikes, and I'm going to load multiple expiration dates. Okay, and this will take just a little bit of time to load. And notice that here we can clearly see the classical volatility smile. Okay, this is the classical volatility smile, and again, I'd be delighted to talk about this for longer. But if you don't know what's the volatility smile, just join me on the sessions that we do on the YouTube channel, for example, and we can talk about that, because today I don't have time to talk about this if you don't know what that is. But my point is that if options prices should follow a smile, right, or in most of the cases, notice how sometimes, that particular smile, if the red line was to continue, right, so that red line would need to go kind of like something like that. But notice how that little dot there diverges, and it's away from where the smile is. In other words, another way to say that is that you got an opportunity to buy an option which is cheaper than what a pricing model would suggest, or you basically have as an advantage, which you would not know unless you had tools to pick on that advantage. Okay, it's a mini arbitrage opportunity, if you wish. It's a price anomaly, and this may happen because, I don't know, maybe some large institutional planner just sold a few thousands of contracts of that 160 strike on that October 1st expiration date, which is the red color. So next thing you know, now you have an advantage there, and you can use that strike, not another strike, but that strike, for an advantage. Okay, and again, if you were to plan your trades on using a classical method, which is buy an option which is located here or has a delta of that amount, sell an option which is located there or has a delta of that amount, or any other rule, if you were to have rigid rules of that sort, I am indeed not saying this is wrong, because having rules is a good thing, but you would probably from time to time miss on those price anomalies as you are building your options trades. And basically that means that you're leaving money on the table, and you are not basically managing your risk to the finest, because you could have entered a trade with a better risk profile thanks to a price anomaly. So how can you catch those price anomalies when you plan your trades? Again, this is one of my favorite tools. It's called the Spread Select. Okay, it's a tool. I'll use it a little later in the presentation, if you don't mind, because I would like to spend a bit more time on this one. But basically what you'll end up doing, okay, is that, you'll pick the stock you want to trade. You will select the type of strategy you want to trade, for example, a bull call spread, okay, or even if it's a long call, okay, you still want to trade a long call with a price anomaly, so it's cheaper than normal. So anyway, so whatever strategy you want to trade, you would enter it here. You would customize expiration date, you would customize what's your target, you would customize various parameters, okay, minimum range, maximum range. Again, you would do a series of things. Notice how every time I'm changing those parameters, many spreads are being built in the bottom part. Actually, I like to build 99. So all the combinations I created times 99. So notice here, a spread is being built, buying the 35 and selling the 40, buying the 35, selling the 45, buying the 35, selling the 50, buying the 35, selling the 55. And if I keep going, all combinations are being built. Okay, all combinations are being built. And why would you do that? Well, because now I'm going to add a filter. Okay, I'm going to enable filters. Okay, and I'm going to add my filter. And here you can filter so many things. Don't be intimidated, because in the end, you select your preferences and you save it as a template. And then what you do is that you load your template. In my case, is the bull call spread preferred parameters. And when you click OK, okay, here we go. So now on the right, you have this column where it says either fail or pass. And in this case, I just did this randomly, so everything fails. But the point is that when you do this right, which I'll show you later how to do it right, so then some of the trades will pass where others will fail, and then you can get to compare some of the parameters and basically find the best trades, that do include such price anomalies, because those filter tools are going to be the ones picking on that. Okay, so again, instead of building your trades, in a traditional manner, which is buy that strike, sell that strike, instead let the computer do the work, build all combinations possible, and then filter out the ones that don't provide such benefits. And you end up now with maybe 3-4 trades for you to decide between. and those trades will have that advantage built in. While with the filtering tools, you can indeed also add your preferred parameters, like, for example, the amount of delta you want. Do you want your gamma positive or negative? What is the amount of days to expiration you want to have? All of those different things. We also have a volume map and an open interest map, which is patented, which plots on the chart, and it's right here. This is what it is. So this is such a powerful tool, guys, because, for example, right now, we're charting Microsoft at this moment in time. And you can see that with Microsoft, at this moment in time, we got 2.4 times more calls traded than puts with the October 1st expiration date. With October 8, we got 1.4 times more puts traded than calls. Then many more calls, and then more calls as well, right? And but again, this is now, in the market started trading 1 hour ago, so it may not be that representative. So something that you need to know about Top as well is that Top has training mode, everything for options and for charts. So training mode means that you can rewind or go to prior dates. So I can look at what was yesterday happening. And if I look at the data from yesterday, or what was happening, on that day, that was a very strong day. So the volume map will load on that particular case, and you can see how you had more calls traded than puts on that particular day, right? More calls for all expiration dates, more calls traded than puts, which is very bullish, inviting for a continuation of the move, which happened the next day. But also, not only that, that little triangle represents the average volume for the calls in the last 5 days. And you can see how that day we were clearly above. In other words, let's say you are tempted to take profits, you are tempted to close the trade because you are close to your target. But you see the volume map so strong. Again, this is basically coming from behind the scenes. You don't see that information on the charts. Well, actually, you do with the volume map, but you don't see that information in the candles. That's what I meant to say. But from behind the scenes, in the derivative markets, you can see such a bullish sentiment that the very likely thing to happen afterwards is for price to continue moving higher. So you can indeed wait before you collect your profits and maximize your profits, taking, closing that trade maybe the next day, or, depending on how you set your targets. The other thing which is very cool, and again, this is for any date, so I'm gonna go back to the present. The other thing which is very cool is that you could switch from volume to open interest, and now basically you get to realize some strikes that are very relevant, because for as I said, while this is options data, it's on the chart, and therefore, for example, you can see here a very, very humongous amount of open interest. This is lining up with the number 300, meaning that this refers to the 300 strike. And take a look at what happened. The market was going higher, hit 300, and went down. Okay, why is that? Well, putting on the side that you may have a UFO, whatever, the fact is that this price point is being seen by the professionals who trade options as a very relevant resistance, and that's why there is so much open interest. Okay, there are many calls being bought at this price. There are many puts being bought at this price. So no matter what, everybody sees that as a very relevant resistance point, because if it goes higher, they want to participate of a breakout with the calls. And for the people that are thinking it's going to bounce down and collapse, there are many people buying puts. So no matter what, you would know this is a very good price for you to take profit. Or if you are a non-directional trader doing iron condors and things like that. So this could be the top or the bottom of a non-directional range. Beyond your technical analysis on the charts and your UFOs, you can also use options data on the charts to be able to understand better where the market is likely going to turn next. Okay. You can also, click here, and if you want to see the prices of options, you're wondering how much is the 300 call right there, 189. So you don't need to go ahead and use the option chain. You can see it on the screen. And by the way, I didn't say blue is calls and gray is puts. I should have said that before, but I guess that maybe it's kind of intuitive and you guys guessed it, okay? But basically, you can see all the data that you would see on an option chain on the chart, which it's very powerful. What else? Real-time implied volatility and skews for calls and puts. I kind of showed you the skews already. The implied volatility here for the calls and the puts, you can see it here on the bottom part of my screen, where I got implied volatility for the puts in gray color, implied volatility for the calls in blue color. Okay, and notice that they are not equal. There are times where implied volatility for calls and puts are more or less the same value. But currently in the present, the implied volatility for the calls, and by the way, this is a 5-day average of the implied volatility. Okay, I could certainly use the real time, but I have it here as a 5-day average, and I have it here as a 3-day average. So the implied volatility for the calls as an average is greater than the implied volatility for the puts as an average. So how can that be, and what needs to happen for this to be? Well, there is only, I was going to say only one situation for this to happen. To be honest, there are two situations for this to happen, which lead to the same conclusion. Case number one, many more people are buying calls and less people are buying puts. So if more people are buying calls, what's going to happen to the price of the calls? They will go up. Therefore, the implied volatility built in those options will rise, and you will see a greater value for implied volatility for the call side. What is the other possibility for the call value to be higher than the put value? The other possibility is that more people are selling puts and less people are selling calls. And again, if more people are selling puts, the implied volatility for the puts is going to go down because the prices of the puts will go down because of an intense selling on the put side. So in other words, if those lines move away from each other, and like today, you got the blue line above the gray line, it means that it's either more people are buying calls than puts, or more people are selling puts than calls. And in both cases, selling puts is bullish and buying calls is bullish. So in other words, the sentiment that is building up as an average from behind the scenes in the options arena is a bullish sentiment. And you can see, you can see that it was not the case before, but more or less starting on this date, that's what you can see. The blue line goes above the gray line, and you can see what happened next. Started moving higher, right? So it was clearly the market was going down. It was a down climate, everything else. But from behind the scenes, from the derivative market point of view, which is something you don't see on the candles, thanks to be able to X-ray those implied volatilities, and instead of simply looking at a standard implied volatility like most platforms will show, which is the implied volatility mean, okay, which is the average of the puts and the calls. So instead, you can look at it separately and gauge what is the directional bias that is building up based on how options are being traded. And if you have that bias of calls above puts, meaning bullish, and you got more calls than puts traded, and later in the day you go above the average, so guess what? You are in a situation where price is very, very likely going to continue. Even though that stock is falling by 0.72% today, okay, just wait for the stock to enter a UFO, and we are very likely going to see that stock to start going up and show a lot of speed to the upside, because from behind the scenes, there is a lot of bullishness building up, okay? So this is kind of like what you can read and plot on the chart, even though that information is not coming from the candles. But that's a good feature to spot unusual options activity, especially institutional trades. Absolutely. Later, by the way, talking about that, I'll show you another tool. It's called the Matrix, and that tool is also extremely useful to do this kind of analysis. Historical and real-time advanced option chain. I'll get deeper into that later if that's okay. I flashed an option chain earlier, and you saw I could select a prior date or work on the real time. So again, an option chain in the end is an option chain, even though our option chain also has some unique features that I could demonstrate later on. Then we have the what if patent pending projection tool, which I also showed you earlier when I was looking at the Disney trade, where I was basically tweaking the various parameters that are moving parameters in a trade, which is basically the stock movement going either up or down, okay? The implied volatility going either up or down as time passes. And again, you can get even more complex by also projecting the Greeks, and also even more complex by breaking down the volatility based on spreads. In this case, I only have a long call, but maybe you are simulating a short iron condor, and now you want to simulate, instead of the implied volatility, as an average for the 4 legs, you want to simulate, the legs separately. Okay, needs to reload. Okay, and now so one leg is going up, the other leg is going, the volatility is going up. Let me grab it right. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I think I didn't set up the setting correctly. Yeah, I need to close and reopen the window. That's what it is. Sorry for that. So anyway, so you can we'll play with that a bit later better, and you will see. But basically, again, this is a tool typically not used by the newer traders. But when you get to that intermediate stage of understanding options, and definitely when you are very advanced, and you want to know exactly what's going to happen to your trade, you want to understand the behavior in those what if scenarios. This tool really gets you to become very very aware of certain things that many options traders they don't realize. Okay, I'm sure that some of you, and feel free to comment and confirm yes or no on the chat box to this question. But I'm sure that some of you, at some point in your early stages of trading options, maybe you got into a trade and you saw the underlying moving your way, and as the underlying was moving your way, you see your P&L grow, and then the underlying kept moving your way, but then you started giving money back to the market, and you will not understand how come the underlying keeps moving, but I'm making less money now. How come, right? And sometimes there is these situations where an options trader utilizing an advanced strategy may not fully understand how the strategy behaves, and having a projection tool of this sort can really make a really, really big difference in the life of an options trader. Real-time server-side all-asset scanner. That means that all the scanning, and this going back to BA with unusual options activity, we have a server, we have a scanner that is running on the cloud. So the speed of execution, the speed of returning results, it's unbelievable because it's not something that runs on your computer and you have to download the data and then process. So where is it? I have it here. Got many windows open here on my other monitor. So let me find the right one. Here we go. So this is the matrix. Okay, I'm just gonna maximize it. Okay, and when you look at the matrix, okay, so you can scan for so many things. Okay, but for example, something you can do is scan for options contracts. So instead of scanning for stocks, you can scan for options. So now, how many stocks are in the options? How many stocks are in the US market? It's about 9,000. How many of them are optionable? It's about 6,000 or something like that. So how many contracts every one of those stocks has? Thousands. So thousands times 6,000, it's millions of contracts that you could scan for specific parameters. Maybe you look for at the money options. Maybe you are looking for only calls, or maybe both calls and puts. You may be looking at a volume which is humongous. You may be looking at a particular level of delta, and then when you click scan, 1, 2, 3, that's your result. That's how long it takes to scan millions of contracts. Okay, and this is option symbols. Okay, again, we talked about TOP being a professional grade options platform. So beyond scanning for underlying, we're also indeed looking for those very unique opportunities in the market space. Okay, but then if you were to be a bit more traditional and you're looking for underlying symbols, so you can go ahead and scan for symbols, and then run multiple scans here with stocks and earnings, and the auto climate is here. Again, I'll play with this later on, but again, same story. The moment you click on it, it just goes very fast. You can even go ahead and add the volume map into your scanning, okay, and be like, okay, so I just want to trade stocks. If the volume map, okay, it's telling me that there is an imbalance with many more calls than puts traded, okay, and we are above the average. And when you run that, well, at this moment in time, we don't have any result. Maybe if I uncheck auto climate, maybe yes, a few. Okay, again, volume is something that builds up during the day, so you would probably get more results closer to the end of the trading day. But in any case, here we go. This is how long it takes to scan the markets for very advanced type of parameters and specific conditions. Spreadsheet style tool to log and track portfolio positions and portfolio performance. This is also very important, especially for the ones of you who are advanced options traders, and you manage your trades actively by maybe you enter an iron condor, and then you roll strikes, and then you roll to a next expiration date, and then you close strikes, and then you do evolutions and conversions of your positions. So for the ones of you that are doing that, sometimes it's difficult to keep track of this in a proper way. And with top, to be honest, it's super simple, because you have this position window where, here, for example, we have a trade with Intel, where we enter the trade with, two bull put spreads and a call. And then the bull put spread was closed, so we were left with a call only. And then another call was sold against the initial call, so we converted a long call into a bull call spread. And then the 60 call was closed as well, and we are back to a regular call. And again, all of those position evolutions are very easy to manage, because this is kind of like a spreadsheet. So let's say you are, let me go back to the strategy builder. Okay, so let's say this is the trade that you are now working with. Okay, so you can just copy this trade. Okay, right click and copy, and you can just paste it in here, and here's the trade. Okay, and you can even change your entry prices if you want to, and that way you can track your positions real time, edit them, close your platform, come back next day, right click on this position, go back to the risk graph to see what's happening to your position today as the market has been changing, and evaluate if anything else needs to be done to this trade or not. By assessing, so what now if I hedge the trade by buying 20 shares of stock against my trade. And now you can basically very simply evaluate what the outcome would be, okay, and confirm if you want to do that or not. And if you want to do it, from here you right click, you copy, you go back to my positions, okay, and you paste it again, and you just keep tracking all those positions evolutions as the trade evolve, okay. And you can edit, you can delete, so you can see it's kind of like a spreadsheet type of tool, which is extremely useful, which is built in the platform. You can also, by the way, right click and export to a spreadsheet if you prefer to work with an external spreadsheet. Brandon, sorry if I missed it earlier. Can you import or manually add your own set of symbols? Yes, absolutely. Actually, I am right now utilizing my own scan list. Well, actually, I was not. I can go ahead and click import very easily. And I like to use this penny increment options list, which is developed and maintained by Thinkorswim. And the moment now you click scan again, so now it's going to scan based on your specific list of symbols. And here's the results. Okay. So yeah, the answer is yes. Very good question. A good one. More top reasons. Backtesting options from the charts. We said that before, okay? But again, why am I repeating this feature? Because in the prior slide, we talked about top tools are exciting. Now we're talking top charts. I want to talk about features that are special about the charts, which of course can be useful for any asset and indeed for options too. So the fact that you can backtest on the charts, I don't need to re-explain it, but that's on the chart. That's why it's here. The options volume map and the options interest map is on the chart. I don't need to re-explain it. We saw it earlier, but it's on the chart. That's why it's here. The real-time implied volatility and the skews is on the chart. Now, the training mode. That is something I said, but I didn't demonstrate. So I demonstrate the trading mode on the volume map, where you can go left and right and get the data from that day. Okay, so that is something I did demonstrate, isn't it? But what about the candles themselves? So let me go back to the chart I was using before, with Facebook, for example. Let me delete this one, and I don't know, maybe let's do the S&P, for example. And now let's say you want to go back in time and simulate. So here's your training mode. Okay, the rewind button is your training mode. So let's say you go back in time here and you're like, okay, so what's happening? Okay, and you can of course make this larger and smaller and all of those things. Okay, so you can now set the speed of replay on the top and click play, and the chart will replay and everything animates real time. So if any UFO forms, you can see it's being formed. If any Elliott wave it's created, it will be enabled automatically for you. So everything is, as you can see, it's developing real time. And of course, no need to say that you can also pause and then move this manually, and maybe you click faster and you move it faster. So this is kind of like your preference, or maybe set a slow speed and get your replay to be slower, or just go to the end. Okay, again, extremely powerful when it comes to practicing a methodology, building confidence on your trading methodologies, back testing, all of those things. This is absolutely needed in a trading platform. Stock and sector or group relative strengths tool. So I want to show you two things that I believe you will find pretty cool. So in the platform, we have a group tool where if I click on it, the first thing that you can see here is the US market and 10 sectors, which is basic materials, consumer goods, consumer services, financial, healthcare, industrial, oil and gas, technology, telecommunications, and utilities. Okay, so we have broken down the market in those 10 groups. So let's say you're looking for a strong stock that you want to trade. By the way, this could be midterm or long-term or both. Okay, so you can be looking at both, midterm, long-term. You can also enable what is called rotation. So which sectors are rotating up from up to down or down to up, or you're just looking at strength, which sectors are strong. Okay, so let's say you're looking for strong sectors. Consumer services seems to be the best here. So maybe you click on consumer services, and now it's going to reveal the groups inside. And maybe you see a very strong one here is the retail specialty. So maybe you're gonna be like, okay, I want to trade stocks that belong to that group. You double click, and now it's gonna load all the stocks, and then you're gonna be like, you know what? I'm gonna trade GameStop. Okay, GameStop, and here's the chart of GameStop. Okay, so this is one way for you to find your stocks that are strong or weak, which is pretty cool. But two more things that are powerful. First, when you scan, you can actually select stocks that are strong. So in other words, all those stocks are strong. Okay, you could uncheck it, and then it's going to give you stocks no matter if their group is strong or weak. Indeed, I guess you are with me that this would be an advantage for the trader. That would be more odds in most cases. So now, could you plot all of this on the screen? Yes, and it will look like that. I prepared this chart already just to save a little bit of clicking. But here, what you have on the top is GameStop, okay, in a daily time frame. And you can see here, this is for the medium term strength for the stock is blue, but for its group, which is the retail specialty, is also blue. And for the whole sector, the sector overall, it's kind of neutral, but at least it was not red, okay? And again, all of those things can be customized. And talking about the use of charts and how charts are unique, you can also group your indicators that are in a subgraph in tabs, where you can switch from tab to tab, freeing up a lot of real estate on the main, or typically the portion of the chart you care the most about, which is where the candlesticks are. So you can see your UFOs and everything else you need. So anyway, so this is a pretty powerful tool that we can discuss a bit more in depth later on. Thank you so much, Trevor. Yes, Fernando, I will address how to connect Top to TradeStation in just a moment. But the answer, the quick answer now that I will give you is that there are two versions of Top. One which is broker agnostic, so in other words, it's not connected to your broker, and the second version is connected to TradeStation. Okay, which is very convenient. Plus, now you get all the data feeds from TradeStation, such as cryptocurrencies, forex, commodities, futures, indices, apart from stocks and options. So again, I'll discuss that in a minute, or if you want me to kind of flash it very quickly. So notice that the version of Top I'm using right now says Top for QC. Okay, Top for QC. Or if I switch to this one, which looks very similar, which is the same, even though it's a different stock on the screen, here it says Options Planner for TradeStation. And this is the one which is integrated with TradeStation, where you can take trades and execute through TradeStation using Top. Okay, it's all integrated. You have access to your account, you see your positions, everything else. So again, I'll discuss that a bit more in depth later on, if that is okay. But indeed, very important question, Fernando. Upcoming turning points prediction tool. No, absolutely not for TradeStation only. As I said, there is a broker agnostic version of Top, which is the one I'm using actually. So you could actually combine it with any any other broker. Okay, so I will talk about that later on. So upcoming turning points prediction tool, it's a tool by which, let me get into a chart. I think that this one, for example, okay, this, I think this could be a better one. So let me switch again and pick a stock in financial industry, for example. So this is Citigroup, okay? So let me, by the way, I'm just gonna remove all studies. Okay, so clear chart here. So now let's go back in time. Okay, let's use a rewind mode. So I'm just gonna go back, I don't know, somewhere here. So when you're looking at that stock somewhere here, so I guess you are with me that this is an obvious relevant turning point, as well as this one is a relevant turning point. So now you don't know where the market is gonna go, up or down, but those what we call speed bumps are price projections based on pretty complex calculations that involve all sorts of things, including Elliott wave, where, you know, when the price gets there, it is supposed to give you a relevant turning point. Of course, the ideal thing would be to have UFOs in it as well. Okay, but you can see here how a relevant turning point took place. Okay, so again, that was an uptrend, and that was a pretty strong correction out of this price area. So now, what else? So same situation. So we are there. There is this relevant turning point. There is this relevant turning point. So the question is, so what's going to happen now? You don't know if it goes up or down, but if it surpasses, okay, here we go, it went there, and now you can see how another relevant turning point is happening out of that speed bump. So in other words, and those speed bumps, by the way, no matter the time frame you're using, they will be plotted in the same price points. So it's not like now you change to the 60-minute time frame and next thing you know the calculation is different. It's not the case, because we are looking for relevant turning points, and therefore this tool is basically looking at beginning and ends of trending conditions, which are quite powerful. So of course, you know, my favorite way to use this would be, you know, to combine it with the UFOs, and now it's even more relevant. But again, that by itself is already quite powerful, isn't it? And the beauty is that also, if I go back to the matrix, and this, by the way, applies to almost everything I am showing today, everything I'm demonstrating, guys, everything is scannable. So you can come in here and look for reversal signals, speed bumps of resistance. So which stocks are in a speed bump as we speak? And as we speak, those stocks are in a speed bump. So you can go and do your analysis. Hopefully there is a UFO, assuming that you are a UFO trader, and then, you know, you can plan your trade around that and take the trade. Okay, but again, no time wasted to find those opportunities. Patented auto UFOs and auto climate. So maybe I'll just flash it very quickly. I had millions of presentations where I talked about the UFOs before, so I think that maybe while it's to me is the key in trading. You know, today, if that's okay, I will not spend too much time, so we have more time for other conversations. Okay, but in this particular case, we are looking at Microsoft. So here on the left, we can see auto climate. So auto climate basically is telling you if it's time to be a buyer or time to be a seller, or time to not to trade. Okay, this is what auto climate is telling you based on statistics. Again, if you don't know how to use it or you have never seen it before, I would like to recommend you to watch some of the YouTube videos on the sharpening playlist. Just search for auto climate. There are videos there that explain that with all detail. But again, this is one of the mistakes that most traders make, right? Which is they trade when there's no time to trade, or they go long when it's time to go short, or vice versa. So what is the beauty in this case? Well, in this case, you know, you can go ahead and scan for climate conditions. Okay, you can scan for climate conditions, and, you know, next thing you know, in this case, those are stocks where the daily climate is confirmed up and sensible, and the weekly climate is also up and it's early. So if that climate expands, you're gonna catch the whole trend or most of the trend that begins in a daily time frame but continues in the weekly time frame, and these could be very good trades to be executed. Again, more about auto climate in other videos, if that's okay. Auto UFOs, it's, as I said, to me, it's really the key. So very powerful tool. But I want to make a point which is also related to top charts, which is what we are discussing, which is that, for example, if I look at, I'm going to move to top for TradeStation. So now I got futures data here, and I'm going to look at the S&P 500, for example, right? So I'm loading the S&P 500 using ATS as the symbol. So it's loading. Here we go. So here's the S&P 500. This is data coming from the TradeStation network, and I'm looking at the daily time frame. So take a look at the UFO stats for the futures. 55%. Okay, so this is the UFO stats. Again, if you don't know what that number means, it's basically how often prices bounces from the UFOs and reaches the rival UFO. So how often it goes from green to red, or how often it goes from red to green. That's what this means. But again, I want to compare this. And again, there is so much more to discuss, but if you look in our YouTube channel, in the sharpening playlist, and you search for calibration, there are 2 videos that talk about the meaning of those percentages and how to adjust them to your benefit, depending on your trading style. So I would not talk about it today because I would not have time. But again, this number is really important, and I would like you to take a look at it more in depth if you are not familiar with what it means. I think it would be important for you. But in any case, my point here is this is a daily time frame of the S&P futures. It shows 55%. If I move to the SPY, which is the ETF, which is the same market, but it only trades 6.5 hours a day instead of 23 hours per day, look at what happens to the probabilities. It drops from 55 to 38. Why is that? Because when the market closes at 4 p.m. in New York, many orders are canceled. So those on-field orders are not there any longer. And then the UFO fails. Now on the futures, it's 23 hours. So the probability of the orders being canceled is much less. And this happens to all stocks. When you look at stock trading and you look at UFO probabilities, all stocks will have lesser probabilities compared to 24-hour markets, such as Forex, crypto, futures is not 24 hours, but I'll call it 24 hours because it's almost 24 hours. So equity markets that trade only 6 hours and a half always show lesser probabilities. And why is that? Well, because many orders get canceled when the market closes. It's normal. The institutional interest goes away the moment the market closes. So in other words, how can we overcome that problem? Well, we cannot change the behavior of the institutions. You can see this is Microsoft. It says 49%. It's better than 38. Okay, but it's less than 55, right? So take a look at this. I am now looking at a 2-day time frame. I am now looking at a 3-day time frame. And now I got my 58% probability. Okay, so very few platforms provide multi-day charts. Most platforms provide mini charts, but you cannot get multiple days. And what's the beauty of getting multiple days for equities is that you really get to spot the greatest, the most important concentrations of orders, which are the most relevant, where even if the market closes at 4 p.m. in New York, those orders tend to be left in the market by the institutions. They don't cancel them, and those UFOs show better performance metrics compared to looking at a daily time frame, which is typically, in most of the stocks, the worst time frame to trade from a UFO point of view, which is kind of a contradiction with classical technical analysis. But from an order flow point of view, the numbers speak for themselves. Okay, it's what it is. I had Auto UFOs app in TradeStation. Do I need them if I join Top? You mean, do you need TradeStation? So if you have Top, you could use Top without TradeStation or with TradeStation. But we are not a broker. Our company is not a broker. So if you get the version of Top which doesn't use TradeStation, then you can do your market analysis, but you cannot execute through us because we are not a broker. Now, if you get Top for TradeStation, Fernando, which I believe this is what you have, my team shared with me earlier in the day that you have subscribed to Top for TradeStation, isn't it? So given the fact that this is your case, then you will be able to execute your trades through TradeStation using top or using TradeStation. You can actually run both if you want. You can run top only, you can run TradeStation only, or you can run top and TradeStation at the same time and execute and analyze with both platforms. Because let's face it, TradeStation is a great platform as well. So there are certain features that may be interesting for you. Maybe you program on easy language, whatever, and that could be useful to you. Okay. But anyway, with top, no matter if it's top for TradeStation or is the broker agnostic version of top that doesn't use a broker, so you got the UFOs built in no matter what. The UFOs are always there because this is what we do, isn't it? Tradictive is all about UFOs. And we can scan for securities whose UFOs work, say over 90% of the times. Well, I never seen UFOs that work 90% of the times, Fernando. So then that will not be achievable. With UFOs, when you see statistics of 60, 70%, I've seen up to 80 something using very small time frames with volume charts and things like that. But typically that will be very likely trades, but for small profits only. So I would not count as this as being the real probability. The probability is going to be more around the 60s. Something like that is more realistic. Yeah. So again, I'll talk a bit more about the various versions of top in a minute, if that's okay, because I still have a few features I would like to showcase. And then I will show you how to subscribe and your different choices and everything else. So then we have automated Elliott wave, which I showed you before. So I'm going to go back to one of the charts, for example, this chart with Citigroup. So here, you could just add, your Elliott wave turning points right here. And by the way, when you select Elliott waves, you can also select your trading style. Maybe you want to trade Elliott wave only long term. Maybe you want to trade Elliott wave only short term or only intermediate term. So all of these you select. It's all color coded. Okay. In my case, I have everything check mark. Medium term, long term, ultra short. So that way you can see more indications on the screen. And all those indications mean that you have a trade to be executed. Now, all of this is presented to you real time. Okay, so if I use the training mode, okay, for example, the last one that took place was here, so the prior one was here. So let's take a look at the day before. So here's when the indication takes place. This is your target 1, this is your target 2, and if price reaches the dotted line, it means the wave has failed. Of course, as always, combine it with the UFOs is going to be much better. So now let's say you take the trade, it went to target 1, didn't reach target 2, and an Elliott wave in the opposite direction was created. So now this is your target 1, this is your target 2, okay? And now you reach target 1, and now you reach target 2. So now the trade is over, and now you're waiting for the next indication, which just happened with target 1 blue, target 2 there, okay? And so far, well, it failed, okay, because it hit that blue line, okay? So it failed, and the trade is not valid any longer. Okay, so again, like every trading methodology, not every trade will work. That's why I was suggesting to combine it with the UFOs. You may want to look at the climate, all of those different things, and for sure you can backtest it with the platform easily, and you should be doing that, isn't it? We also have automatic Elliott wave pattern identification, and by the way, everything can be scanned on the matrix. So on the matrix, you could say, look, instead of climate, I am an Elliott wave trader. I would want to look for, medium-term Elliott wave indications that took place anytime in the last 3 bars. Let's see. These are the ones, okay? But instead, maybe you are not an Elliott wave trader. What you like to do is, I am looking for weekly bullish candlesticks. I would like to trade hammers in the weekly time frame. So just give me hammers on the weekly time frame which belong to stocks that are in a strong group. And that, my friends, would be Twitter. It's only one today. Every day is different, not only every day, every second, because this is real time. So I'm going to look at Twitter, right? And if I look at Twitter and I look at the weekly time frame of Twitter, so here is your hammer. Price is above the high if you're trading this as a technical analysis candlestick pattern. So you would be entering the trade, your stop would be below. Again, everybody got a different trading style. I guess I should skip those details, but basically here is the trade that you found, and that was a weekly time frame. So it was you were ready to go for it. By the way, let's say you are like, oh, but I'm not very good picking chart patterns. Well, you can just activate your candle patterns and just check mark the type of patterns that you're looking for. So maybe you are looking for hammers only. So this is what you will look for. Okay, and I'm running so many charts open at the same time. I believe for whatever reason is running just a bit slow here. That should not be the case. So I guess it will open in just a moment. I guess it's okay now. So okay, here. So for example, you are looking for bullish hammers. Okay? So let's say that's what you're looking for. Or maybe you're interested in bullish hammers and bearish haramis. Okay, so bullish haramis and bearish haramis and the hammers. Maybe that's what you want. And you want to add text labels because you are not very good with the chart partners. So that way it's written for you. So you click OK, and here we go. Okay, so this is your hammer, H for hammer. Okay, and here's H minus. Okay, so this is a bearish hammer. Okay, so again, all of this is indicated for you with a nomenclature, and it's highlighted on the chart, and you can scan for it. What else? Probable price range projection tools, which this is extremely useful for, especially for non-directional traders, or to set targets and not to miss targets. This is not the one I wanted. I wanted to use a different chart. This is the one I wanted to use. So let me come in here. So here I'm going to show you now a projection tool from Microsoft. Let's pick, I know, Apple. Let's change. And this will reload. And what this is going to show us is it's going to show us a cone with 4 lines. 3 are blue, 1 is red. All of this is customizable. But the way I have it set up is that the red line is implied volatility, real time, and the blue lines are historic volatility for 1 month, 2 months, and 3 months. So in other words, these price ranges, when you look at them and you contrast the cone with the vertical lines, which are dotted lines, which represent expiration dates. So the intersection represents the price range. For example, let's say you want to do an Iron Condor using October 8. So that price point right there and that price point right there, that will represent the statistical range where that market should be in from now until that date, based on the speed at which the stock has been moving during the last 1 month, 2 months, and 3 months, as well as based on the current options prices, which have implied volatility within them, right? So all of these would be projected, and then of course you can stipulate more or less demanding parameters in the settings of the probability cone. In my case, I'm using a 1 standard deviation. Maybe you want to use 1.5 standard deviation. Maybe you want to use 2 standard deviations, whatever that is. So you can just pick the amount of probability you want to use on that projection, or even type it. Okay. So for example, a 2 standard deviation would be 90+%, isn't it? As 95%. So you can just, I'm just gonna click cancel, but you can just project whatever you choose to project depending on your trading rules. Okay. Yes, Fernando, I indeed remember that. Thank you for that message. This is very sweet of you and definitely brings very good memories. JLo, it does not run on TOS, but it is indeed compatible with TOS, as I will explain in a moment. Okay. Cool. So now, how to subscribe? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the platform, and then we can spend a little bit more time into get and get into a bit further details. To be honest, we could have a 5-hour webinar if you guys feel like it and talk about top. I'm just joking. But indeed, you could imagine that there is so much to discuss. Okay. By the way, maybe this is a good time as well to share this. So if I look at our website and I look at live trading, okay, which many of you would probably know this section on our website. So when you get in here, there is a calendar of sessions. And I want you guys to realize that starting in October, which is the next weekend, so we are going to be running top sessions every Sunday. Okay, so we're going to get very technical when it comes to the use of the platform, so all of you can be properly supported, getting into everything, like starting from how do I save my chart, to all the way to how do I plan this very complex trade, and I simulate position evolutions, and and anywhere in between. So just keep that in mind, that there will be much more training beyond today's presentation, today's presentation basically is for me to share with you. Top exists. It's a new service, a new product, a new tool. It can certainly impact and change the way you trade. It could indeed add an edge in your trading, and I'm super excited. But at the same time, we are meeting for an hour and a half, and therefore, we'll need more meeting time in the future, especially for the ones of you using it. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Those sessions will also be broadcasted on YouTube. So for the ones of you that want to connect, great. Even though, as you will learn in a moment, you will be able to join us in the private room as well. I'll explain that in a moment. So 2 different ways to get top. We got top for Quote Media, and we got top for TradeStation. So what is top for Quote Media? Quote Media is a market data provider. It is not a broker. TradeStation is a broker, and as just like all brokers do, they obviously also have market data, right? So what does that mean? It means that if you were to subscribe to top for Quote Media, you get market data only, and this has pros and cons, like everything in life. Which the beautiful thing about that is that now you are using a broker agnostic version of top. So it doesn't matter your broker. You can do your analysis with top and place orders with your broker ABC. And if you are a serious trader using multiple brokers to be diversified, maybe you have a long-term account with Interactive Brokers, just to pick a broker. Maybe you have a short-term account with, you mentioned Thinkorswim, or I should say Charles Schwab in this case, because of the integration. So, so then it doesn't matter. You do your analysis with top, and then you use those other platforms to execute. I love to do that myself. I actually love to use the app version of my brokers on the phone or a tablet. So that way, when I'm planning my trades, I do it on the big screen and I use top. And when I execute, I definitely appreciate very much to execute on a tablet or on my phone, because the fact that I'm changing from one device to another device, not only changing from screen to screen, but from device to device, from computer to tablet or computer to phone, kind of switches my mindset from I am in planning mode versus I am in execution mode. And that way I don't fall into temptations, over trading emotions, and things like that so easily. And it's proven to help many traders to do it this way. So again, this is kind of like the benefit of using top for Quote Media, which is, you are independent, if you wish, of whichever broker you use, which by the way may change in the future, and you don't have to relearn the platform. What's the downside? Well, the downside is that you need to do an extra step to execute your trades instead of simply right click. Okay, you can do right click to trade if you use the TradeStation version of top, but now you need to have a TradeStation account. Or if you don't have it, you could open a TradeStation account, because there is indeed a benefit, which is the fact that the whole set of market data provided provided by TradeStation, it's larger than the market data provided by Quote Media. With Quote Media, you have access to US equities and US options, which is typically what you would need. But with TradeStation, you also have cryptocurrencies, forex, commodities, futures. So again, you have more market data, which Quote Media does not provide. Okay, and therefore, another alternative is to open an account with TradeStation. You may be less active if you did it just so you get top. Again, all of this is trader choice, and I will not get into it, because like everything in life, there is pros and cons, and again, there are there are benefits and disadvantages of every decision we make in life. So, but basically, that's the idea. You got your broker agnostic version or your broker dependent version, which is the one with TradeStation. And in the future, indeed, we will certainly integrate with other choices too. But again, this is where we are today. Top works on Windows, Joan. So you will need a Windows machine to be able to run it. We have other works in process, and there will be additional solutions in the future. But at this moment, as we are meeting today, producing this recording, if you're watching this recorded, this is Windows, okay? So how would you subscribe? Well, you will need to go to our website, which is tradewithufos.com/apps. Again, talking about websites, we have two websites as a company. We have Tradictive.com, which most of you are aware of, I guess. This is our engine, okay? Everything we do is using Tradictive tools. Actually, Trade with UFO, which is the second website, is the community of traders using Tradictive tools. So who is the engine of Trade with UFOs is Tradictive. So in the Tradictive website, you can find more information about Top. Okay, you have demos, you have all sorts of illustrations that explain functionalities and so on. If you want to take a look, you get your two versions of Top explained in here. But then for you to subscribe, you don't do it on the Tradictive website. You need to do it on the Trade with UFO website. On the app section, you scroll down to discover apps. You can see all the supported platforms, and here is where you got Top. Okay, so you click on the plus sign, and it expands. So there are two ways to there are two versions of Top, and there are two ways to subscribe to Top, which is a collection of 4 possibilities for you guys. So first, you have monthly subscriptions and you have yearly subscriptions. With Top, the coaching is included. So on our website, okay, if you didn't use Top, one of your choices is to come to the coaching session and decide you want to be a coach student, and therefore you pay $21 a month and you get access to our private room and you get full duration coaching. You can also have free coaching in the YouTube channel. It's half duration. It's about 30 minutes per session instead of 1 hour per session. It's still very good. It's the same thing, to be honest. But again, some people want more, and then they pay $21 per month. So if you want to do that, then great. That's a choice. Now, with Top, that's included. You don't need to pay those $21 because it's part of the subscription. If it's a monthly subscription, it would be $233, both if it's the QuadStream version or the TradeStation version. It's the same thing. But, and by the way, you get 1 course for free included, meaning in our website, if I go back to our website, right here. So we have courses, and you can pick any of the courses you want, and the moment you register to Top, we'll send you a special coupon code and you can enroll in the course for free. It's part of your subscription. Okay, so this is one way to subscribe to Top if you want to do it in a monthly basis. If you want to do it in a yearly basis, so you toggle the switch to yearly, and then you would see a different quote, which is $2,584 per year, and then you get access to all the courses included. Instead of 1 course, is all the courses. And this is how you do it. Okay, this is how you subscribe. And to make it easier for you as well, I would love to ask my team to go ahead and push on the chat box the direct links to the specific page where you can do your subscriptions. So that way you don't need to type, or you may make a mistake or whatever. It would be more convenient to you. So if you want to use that link, you can just click. It will open in a different tab, and you can take a look either now or when the session is over. Fernando, how old is Top? We are launching it today. Okay, we are launching it today. So it's that old. Very good. So this is how you get subscribed to the platform, and these are your choices. So again, we are getting very close to the end of the session. Speed of the light, I would like to rephrase some of the key benefits. These may inspire you to ask a question or multiple questions. So feel free to type it on the chat box, because after I review very quickly in a written form the key features of the platform, I will get to the end of my slide deck where I will show that bonus benefit I wanted to share with you guys, and we will get into question and answer mode. So then I am here for you guys to answer those additional questions that could be useful to you guys. Thank you so much, Maka. This means a lot, and yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Leland. So first, the Top has the UFOs and the climate built in. Okay, I think that we don't need to talk too much about this, but if you have any question, please feel free to type it on the chat box. Training mode, both in the options arena, could be an option chain, an options volume map, or on the chart, on the candlestick. You can rewind the markets, replay the markets at your pace, practice, backtest, get to understand the outcome of your methodologies before you use real money in the markets. Upcoming turning points prediction tool. Those were those purple color speed bumps I was using on the chart, which, by the way, you can change the color to whatever color you want, of course. And those were tools to predict significant turning points that you can use to set targets, to set entries, ideally combined with UFOs, and so on. Automated Elliott wave, automated pattern identification on the chart, also on the matrix where you can scan for it. Stock, sector, or group relative trends tool, where you can understand the 10 sectors in the market, the groups or industries within those sectors, and then the stocks within those groups or industries, and basically be able to trade strong stocks or weak stocks in a strong industry, in a weak industry that belongs to a strong sector or a weak sector, or any combination that makes sense to you, depending on the type of trade that you're looking for. Patented options volume map and the options open interest map. The probable price range projection tools, very useful, especially for non-directional traders to set price ranges, but also when it comes to setting targets and maybe trying to pick the most efficient date for your expiration date. The projection tool can indeed help you to estimate what is the date in which you will reach those targets, and therefore use options expiration dates which are adequate so you don't have to roll or get hurt on time decay. Thank you so much, Jeff. This is also extremely kind of you. Backtest options plays straight from the charts. This, if you don't mind, I'll just go back to the charts to add an extra demonstration here, because earlier I just did a backtest of an earnings play, but it doesn't need to be an earning play. Maybe you want to backtest something much more complete or complex, and maybe you just go for your options replay, okay? And maybe you want to, backtest. I'm just looking at the chart here, and so, for example, maybe you want to backtest, iron condors. Okay, so neutral, short iron condor. Okay, and then you want to bring that slider to whatever date you want. So, for example, you bring the slider to this particular date, and when you get here, now you can, by default, it's going to simulate something for you, as you can see, but you can always right click and then adjust this to whatever you want it to be. So in this case, in iron condor, I could change the expiration date to whatever I want. I can change the strikes. I won't do it, but you can add another leg. Maybe you are doing something fancy and you have, an additional leg on top. Maybe you have some shares that you're short combined with your iron condor, 10 shares short. I don't know, whatever. And now you click OK. And the whole thing is going to be simulated from that date to the expiration date. And now you can see the result of this trade if you had done that. Okay, you don't need to use the option chain at all, and you can make your backtest as simple or complex as you want, and go back in time, and it'll do it for you and readjust it if needed, and so on. So you can be playing with the training mode on the chart, right, together with your simulation tool, and truly, backtest option strategies in the most accurate way as possible. Real-time implied volatility and the skews. Again, I talked about being able to catch price anomalies. The very easy to use strategy builder. Again, I'll flash it one more time because this I know is going to be extremely powerful for some traders. So again, going back to a chart. So let's say you are trading Twitter. Okay, and again I will simplify this. Let's say Twitter is trading at 66. Okay, and your trading methodology suggests that Twitter is going to, 70. So you just type 70, you hit enter. Okay, you go to 3, and 1, 2, 3, and your trades are built, and you now can go ahead and sort them based on return on investment and this bulk of spread seems to be the best one possible at this moment, given your target location and the prices of options at this moment. And then you can right click and go deeper into options projections, which I won't do because of lack of time. Ahmed, indeed, with the right tools, options is easier. That's very kind of you. For sure, options give you options. So in this sense, you can indeed, make it more complex. If that's your trading style, let's say you are very advanced, you can for sure, make it very much more complex. Okay, but simple works, and indeed, a strategy builder is indeed there to keep it very simple. Christian, you are not only brilliant, Jose, you are also a really nice person. So glad to have you discover you. Oh, this is Christian. You touched me, my friend. This is extremely kind of you. It is very appreciated, and you make my day. Thank you so much for such an incredible support. It's a pleasure, guys, working with you guys. Historical and real-time options chain. I think we talked about this before. The risk profiles with the compare and the ideal strike patent pending functionality. This I didn't share, so I'll explain that very quickly. So let me go back to top here. And let me open a risk profile, a risk graph. Okay, let me see. Do I have another risk graph on the other screen? No, I don't. Okay, great. Okay, so I'll open that one. Okay, so just give me 1 second, guys. Here we go. So now, take a look at this. Okay, so let's say you didn't know anything about options. And let's say you know that buying a call makes you money if the stock goes up. But also, you know that if you buy a call, the problem is that if the stock doesn't move up fast enough, that call may expire and everything you pay for the call is lost. Okay? Which is kind of like basic options knowledge. So now, a trader that may know that concept but doesn't know how to assess which call to buy may come into the option chain and look at sorry, not in the option chain, may come to our race graph, look at the risk profile and decide, look, this trade, if I buy the 66 call, is costing me $240. If instead of buying the 66 call, I buy, let's say, the 60 call, that trade would cost me $6.80. That's way more expensive. And if I was to buy, instead of the 66 or the 60, I was to buy the 75 call. So the 75 call would cost me only 29 cents, which is crazy cheap. So for a person who doesn't really know how options work, they would say, that's the one I'm going to buy because it's very cheap. Okay, well, what's the issue? What's the catch? Well, the catch is that you just bought a lottery ticket. It's very cheap, but it's very likely going to not pay anything for you because the crossover between the zero line and the PNL line on expiration is located there. In other words, Twitter needs to get to at least 75 point something for you to profit, where Twitter is currently trading at 66, and therefore this is very unlikely. Okay, so you are buying a very cheap option, and there is a reason why it's so cheap, because it's very likely going to expire with no value, and you lost $29 per contract. So in other words, which one should you buy? Okay, well, the answer is there is one which is the ideal one. How do you know the one which is ideal? Well, you check mark call ideal strike zone, and the same applies for puts, even though I will not demonstrate that today. But basically, look at what happened to the 66, which was selected automatically. The 66 call is automatically located. Okay, the 66 call automatically creates the crossover with the zero line and the PNL within this box. Okay, that box helps us to select the ideal strike. As long as the crossover is within the box, you have odds of breaking even or better, no matter the condition on the stock, no matter if the stock is in an uptrend, in a downtrend, no matter nothing. Not sure this is proper English, but you got me. This option has a fair probability of breaking even or better. Of course, can we try to bargain a little bit? Well, this tool allows you to. What if I pick the 67.5? Is the crossover still inside? Let's take a look. The crossover is still inside, right at the limit. So that one cost you 1.77, which is a little cheaper, and you still have a fair chance, to be okay. So again, basically this functionality, which by the way you can scan for it using the matrix and the spread select, and the strategy builder builds the trades utilizing this technology as well. So basically this helps you to select options that you buy that by themselves they are likely to break even or better based on an evolution of the classical pricing models, where instead of using a normal distribution of price, we are using something called the Chebyshev rule, which basically it's a theorem in probabilities and statistics, which is applicable to any data distribution, no matter if it's normal or skewed. And therefore, now we are adding many odds for this particular contract that you buy to at least break even or better by itself. And then, of course, if instead of doing just a contract, you do a spread, then of course now you add even more potential for the trade to behave the way you want it to behave. But again, what a powerful functionality in order to find the balance between using a strike which is cheap enough but not that cheap, so it becomes a lottery ticket. Filter out all possible spreads based on your preferred parameters. Well, I guess I won't have time to demonstrate that, but you saw me kind of do it before when I told you that you would basically load the spread select. You will build plenty of spreads. Instead of building one spread based on your rules, instead just build plenty. Okay, just build plenty, and now that you build plenty, you go ahead and you filter out. And as you filter them out, okay, you will end up with fails and passes. Okay, and out of those passes, you can now look at the ones, with the greater performance. And by the way, you can look at performance also based on what about the performance if I reach my target on time? What about the performance if I reach my target on expiration date? And you can see that, the parameters, will vary depending on that. And then you can make your choice and take advantage of price anomalies, because you are just building so many spreads that if any of those spreads benefits from price anomaly, these will be reflected in the return on investment of that trade, especially when you look at the target date versus the expiration date and all of those things. But again, you will see me use these techniques in our live sessions, okay? Because it would be a bit too much for today. So the what if, I use it a couple of times in the session, so I guess it's clear. You can project your trades and tweak all the different moving parts that impact an options price, which is time passing, implied volatility changing for different strikes because there is a skew, the price of the underlying moving. You can simulate and project what happens to your Greeks, what happens to the price of your option, what happens to your P&L. You can project everything. And everything is on the server side, scanning real time, so you can find trades very efficiently. And then those trades that you find, you can put them on your spreadsheet style tool where you can log and then track and then keep control over those position evolutions that you may do if you are an active options trader, tweaking your trades as time passes. So, bonus for you, my friends. Here's a link that you will appreciate. Tradictive.com/top coaching. This is your link. And please, I'm going to ask my team, please, again, if you don't mind to push this direct link on the chat box, that would be very useful and convenient for the audience. So please do that. And this particular link will lead you to a page where you can register for the coaching plan that I showed you before, which we normally charge $21 per month, but you'll get 3 months access to this coaching plan as a thank you for spending an hour and a half with me today, guys, which is very appreciated. Again, it's such an exciting time for myself, for our company, and everyone involved. And we wanted to give you a special thank you, and this is it. So you would type that particular URL. You would basically get access to all those sessions, but instead of accessing those sessions on the YouTube channel, which are half duration, you would access those sessions in our webpage, where there is a live trading session on top of the calendar. We're here. When you log in, okay, basically the trading room will appear, okay, and as the trading room appears, you'll see that in a moment. So now you get access to all those coaching sessions, as I said before, where again, I want to highlight the fact that starting in October, we're going to run top sessions every Sunday. Okay. And so here's your coaching room with all the prior recording sessions available here for all the assets, and indeed lots of options in there. Okay. So what else? So coming back to here, practice makes perfect. You will come to a page that looks like that when you click on this link. 3 times 21 is 63, but again, it's free for you guys. So just click add to the cart. It will not require a credit card or anything. It will just require you to register on our website, which probably you are already registered. So use your username and complete the process, and then you are in. Okay. It will look like that. Okay, this is how it look like. This is the real website. So you click add to the cart and you are in. So with all this said, I'm just gonna go for the last slide in our presentation here, which is to thank you for the attendance, and indeed ready to take care of some of your questions you may have. So you guys let me know any questions so far. I'm looking at the chat box. I don't see any additional questions, so that typically means that it's either I totally overwhelmed you or I actually did a good job. Hopefully it's the second one, but for sure, do not be shy. And I know the session was a bit extended. If you have to go, please feel free to go. No issues. But if you want to stay a bit longer and you have questions, for sure, I'm here for you. I do not mind to stay a bit longer, guys. Thank you very much, Chuck, for sharing the link as well. The presentation is indeed recorded. You will receive an automatic email, I believe, tomorrow. The webinar platform will automatically email you with a recording link. Make sure you check your spam folder just in case. Melanie, it was a pleasure. Maka, thank you so much as well. Mark, thank you so much for being here and also for listening. I mean, you know about TOP, but sometimes it's good to go back to the basics, isn't it? Thank you, Wayne. I'm saving my questions for after I play with TOP a bit this week. See you in the training. Wonderful, Chuck. Very good, very good. Joanne, Jose, I know zero about options. Would TOP be a benefit to me? Big time, big time, because while it's very advanced, I mean, it's professional grade, but you have a lot of tools that can assist you in building the trades. And then with tools like the projection and things like that, you would really get to understand the behavior of your trades, and the fact that you can backtest them. Then you can put your trades together in the past and see their behavior through time in front of you as the charts are moving in front of you. This would really speed up the speed of learning options, because in the end, at least to me, and this is how it works for me, maybe we are all different, that I could see that to be the case as well, but to me, I'm a very visual person, and being able to have it all visual in front of you not only is good for when you trade, to be efficient, to avoid mistakes, to plan trades faster, all of this, but when you're in learning stages, while the platform is professional, it's one of those exceptions where it's like, if you were to learn how to drive a car, you may not want to start with a Ferrari. Well, in this case, I guess it's the best way on how to start trading options, which is to start with a Ferrari, right? In this case, if that's a valid analogy, not sure it is. Thank you so much, Trevor. Thank you so much, Clive. Juan, a pleasure. Ba, thank you so much. Gaston, this is very kind of you as well. So being an expert as you are, Gaston, your thank you and your note of excellent introduction makes me very happy as well. So thank you, extra thank you to you, my friend. Very good, everybody. My friends, I think we're gonna call it a day in this case. I want to thank you one more time for joining me today. Again, special time for us as a company. And indeed, a Lamborghini. Here we go, Joe. I can see your preferences there. By the way, it's the Russian Formula One Grand Prix this weekend, so I'm very much into that. So hopefully you guys enjoy it as well. See you soon, everybody. Don't be a stranger. I shared my email address with all of you at the beginning of the presentation. So if you need to, if you have questions, if you need anything, just shoot me an email. I will just type it one more time. Very simple, very easy to remember. So tradictive.com. Okay. Jose at tradictive.com. That's my email address. So just email me anything, could be questions, could be anything. More than happy to assist you, my friends. Okay, and this is no matter if you're using or you're not using Top. Okay, so our community is truly committed to supporting you. Hence, the fact that we run coaching in the YouTube channel, and that's accessible to everyone. So you guys, please do not be shy. We are authentically committed to your development, guys. Okay, take care, everybody. See you on the next one. See you on the Sundays in the Top sessions, or on the Wednesdays and the Thursdays where I run the option sessions as well. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.